Hey, Bookish friends. Sorry if I sound congested. I am congested. But we're at that time of year where it's like, is it a cold? Is it allergies? I don't know. And if it's allergies, I could be this way for weeks. So I don't want to put off filming just because I'm congested. So we will push through and hopefully it doesn't sound terrible. I finished 12 books in March, and I want to talk about them because at this point it's been almost a week since March. So yeah, let's get started. I'm just gonna grab a few at a time. I did read The Bookshop of Secrets by Molly Rushmeyer. I can't remember if this one was on my February or March TBR for a reread. I did reread it. I think I may have enjoyed it. Yes, here's my card, reread. I think I enjoyed it more this time than the first time I read it, possibly because I was reading a finished version and the first time I read an advanced reader copy. We have Hope Sparrow. She shows up at this, I can't remember. It's a bookshop, but I can't remember what state it is in because she's trying to track down these books that her mother had left her, but she ends up going in the foster system. So a friend of her mother's held on to the books and that friend died. So she sent them to, I think it was her brother, but he has dementia and he can't remember what he did with those books. She agrees to help out at the bookshop and help organize it while looking for her books. And there's a mystery attached, and that's all I want to say because there are lots of different threads in this book. Speaking of rereads, I also got very, very sick in March. And once I finished that one, nothing was really keeping my attention that I had already started before I got sick. So I pulled up Clock Tower Bound by Shatona Havig. I started reading it on my Kindle first because I have both the ebook and the physical copy. And yes, this proves I do need both, okay? Because I wanted to read my Kindle in bed without any lights. And then when I started to feel a little better, I pulled out my hard copy. And I just love this book so much. It's about Milton, the book store doctor. He comes and helps Anne Cezanne with her bookshop. It's not doing very well, partly because there's a rift between her and her friend Nadia. They were best friends and they had been running a bookshop together, and then something happens. There's a rift. Anne leaves, opens up her own bookshop right across the street. And so Milton is not only trying to save the bookshop, he is trying to save the friendship. And I loved it so much. Still 5 stars, even though this is at least the 3rd time I've read it. And then I had already started the Seven Dials mystery before I picked up Clock Tower Bound, but my mind was not focusing on mystery because I had a fever of like 100 to 102 for 3 or 4 days. So I loved the setup of this book. It involves a prank and then someone dies. Not from the prank, but everybody's expecting this reaction from the prank, and nothing happens because the person died. And there's a secret society, and I didn't guess who done it until right before the reveal. And I just had a great time with this once I had the brain capacity to appreciate it. I also... Wait. Did I actually... I did draw this one for Owned Book. And I read it for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge because the prompt was Weapon on the Cover. And I also picked up A Basket of Summer Fruit. I think I actually started this one at the end of February when I finished my nonfiction book for that month, so I picked this one up. It's just a short book of devotionals that Susanna Spurgeon, the wife of Charles Spurgeon, wrote in the years after her husband died. And they're just... These devotions are packed with scripture and hymn references and it's just beautiful. And I plan on getting, there's 2 more of these in this edition with the same editor, so I plan on getting those eventually and reading those because I just love this one so much. I definitely plan on rereading this one eventually. I think there were 13 just little devotionals. There's a little brief summary of the life of Mrs. Charles Spurgeon. I can't find there's the contents. Yes, there's 13 of them. Loved it so much. And it was middle grade March, and I did pick up The Mysterious Howling, which is the first book in the Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place series. I can't remember if I drew this one for anything. I'll look in my reading journal when I go through it at the end. The premise of the story is we have Miss Penelope Lumley. She is a young woman. She's like 15 or 16 when this book starts, but she's getting her first governess job. And she expects to be teaching these children Latin and appreciating the classics. And she gets there, and these children have been raised by maybe wolves in the woods and don't even speak English. And the various hijinks that come with that. I really enjoyed it. I do plan on continuing the series. Gonna take a brief peek at... Okay, I've got 2 more before I hit an ebook. Whoops. Books are falling everywhere. I did read A Talent for Murder by Andrew Wilson. This one, I'm pretty confident I drew this for something. Or, oh right, my picker wheel. I did picker wheels for March. I'll have to check which one this was. This was on my 26 to read in 2026 list. I think The Mysterious Howling was as well. This is a mystery that takes place with Agatha Christie as our main character. And it's an imagining of what happened during the time she mysteriously disappeared in 1926, which did actually happen. And this is just looking at events that happened, the few things I do know that happened around that time, and being like, well, what if this happened? And it was interesting. It was quite dark. I don't know if I actually would have finished it, but if it weren't on my 26 to read in 2026 list, and I do have another book in this series, but I don't know that I'm going to continue the series. Speaking of series, I did continue the Chronicles of Prydain series. I read Taran Wanderer. This one was Random Letter is the title's first letter, and I got T. I challenged myself to not pick one that started with the. Not much I can say about this book because it is the 4th book in a 5-book series. This may have also counted for middle grade. Taran is a little bit older than what books in middle grade are typically geared toward, but he is like the first 1 or 2 books. He is in that middle grade age range, and this is put with the rest of the series in the children's section of my library. I will say, this is gorgeous, and we have a map as the end papers, and it shows where he goes in the kingdom of Prydain, the land of Prydain, and he is trying to figure out what his parentage is, and I think he's putting way too much emphasis on your lineage determining your worth, and I think he comes to the same realization by the end of the book, but I won't spoil it. What was the first ebook I finished? If we back up a bit, actually, the first ebook I finished was back before all of these. I read Seeking Persephone because the little clips and trailer kept popping up in my YouTube feed, and I just got very curious, so I put it on hold for my library, and when it finally came in, I started as like fourth or fifth in line, and by the time I got it, there were 35 people behind me. uh, it was a very sweet story. No spice. We have an arranged marriage trope between this duke who has a very scarred side of his face because of deformity from when he was a kid and trying to fix it. And then we have Persephone, who her father is a clergyman. He's the younger son of a noble, and so there's like, by the time you get down the line, there's no money, and he has a lot of kids, and so instead of her having a dowry, the duke pays for her family to be better off, and so that's why she accepts it. And yeah, it's just about two people who find themselves married, trying to get along and get to know each other. And like I said, it was sweet, no spice. I enjoyed it. I read through it in like 2 days. Very good. And then to make things easier when I'm editing, I will talk about Miracle at Tenwick. This I drew for standalone, but it is on my 2026 list, and I needed a nonfiction for the month, and I chose this one. This is the biography of Dr. Ernie, I think it's Story. He was from Indiana, and he becomes a medical missionary doctor in Kenya. It starts as he's the first doctor at this little hospital where the only operating room is so small that the nurse has to duck under the operating table in order to get on the other side in order to hand him instruments and assist in the surgery, to there being multiple buildings, and his determination that like anything that goes well at this hospital is all due to God. It's a very edifying story, and it doesn't also shy away from the fact that he did go through a season of doubt of they'd already served 2 or 3 terms and trying to decide if he should stay in the States and open up a practice or go back. And he's not sure if he's supposed to go back, but he does go back, and there's just a season of doubt for him and his wife after, but they do make it through, and they end up serving even more terms after that. And it's a good story, and I might be passing this around to some of my friends. The other ebook I read this month was for Chantel Reads All Day's Indie Book Club, and it was The Night of by Marcus Bittner. I was reading this book when I was sick, and I was still having a very hard time determining who's the good guys here, who's the bad guys, what side are we supposed to be rooting for, what's going on. It was the first book in a series, and I did push through and I finished it. There were a few times where I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep reading it or not, so I'm definitely not going to continue the series, but I read it. I think for a book written by someone who's, I think he's a teenager or early 20s, it was very good. For a debut novel from somebody with, not much writing experience, and but it was a little too dark for me, and so I'm not going to continue the series. I've got 2 books left. I finally picked up The Time Door. I promoted this book being like, if you want to try Christian science fiction, try this book because it was really cheap and it's Enclave. And then it took me a while to actually read it, and I'd already purchased book 2, but I did love it. And Enclave is usually young adult, but the characters in this book have to be at least in their late 20s, because they're chosen because they're experts in their field to go to Mars. And therefore that they have to be at least in their late 20s. And one of them's a doctor, which makes me think they're maybe in their early 30s. And this book does have multiple points of view. We have a congressman. We have a liaison between the White House and Congress with NASA. And we also get points. We get little bits from 3 out of the 4 Mars team members. And I went into this book pretty much blind. And that's maybe a good thing, because I think you're not supposed to be knowing what's going on for the first part of the book. And some of the characters, your first impressions of them end up being wrong. And I liked that. And I quite enjoyed this book. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say the prologue is the 4 members of the Mars team arriving on Mars and setting up and being like, okay, we're here for the next 4 years. And then the book opens 4 years later. And do they get to leave or do they not? Because there's been a great collapse in the economy back home, and they're literally burning money because it is worthless. So I quite enjoyed it. It was maybe more dystopian than science fiction, which dystopian's not normally my cup of tea, but I loved this. And I'm eager to get to the second book in the duology. Then, because I did finish my nonfiction book with, I think it was about a week left in the month, I went ahead and picked up Caught Up in a Story, Fostering a Story-Formed Life of Great Books and Imagination with Your Children. This is by Sarah Clarkson. She is the oldest child of Sally Clarkson. I've read and enjoyed several of her books. And I did enjoy this book. It was a bit, maybe not dense. I want to say like dense or academic for my tastes, but I did appreciate what she had to say about stories and how they can influence children, not necessarily, people when they are children, but then how that carries through young adulthood and into adulthood. And it's a good book. I think I will reread this at least one more time. And she did have lots of books. Each of the chapters, and there are 6 chapters, she recommended at least 10 books for people and for moms and their families. All right, so let's go through this. I started 3. I started multiple series, 2 of which I plan to continue. That's how I should phrase it. I already said for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, which was Weapon on the Cover, I read The Seven Dials Mystery by Agatha Christie. For the Jurassic Reading Challenge, March was Stegosaurus, which was family. I did The Mysterious Howling because we have 3 siblings. Not much progress there. I gave 4 books 5 stars, one of which was a reread. 2 of them were nonfiction, which was A Basket of Summer Fruit and Miracle at Tenwick, and then The Time Door also got 5 stars. I did pick A Basket of Summer Fruit for my favorite book of the month, which means of the 3 months in the first quarter, 2 of them I chose nonfiction books as my favorite book. What is happening? I don't know. But I'm reading more nonfiction and enjoying it more than I ever have before. Because for my favorite book bracket, I can't choose a reread. So, for my 26 books to read in 2026 list, I have finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have finished 11. 2 of those have been in April, but shh. And then I am currently actually reading 2 more. I am going through this list a lot more quickly this year than last year. For the Indie Book Club, I gave The Night of Shadows 3 stars. So I might end up skipping April just because, like I said, I'm already feeling the allergies. We're pushing through to get homeschool finished. I'm just not going to have as much time to read. And here's what my book bingo looks like at the moment. Trying to think if I have crossed anything. Oh, I think I crossed up 3 friend recommendations because Taran Wanderer, the series, was recommended by a friend, so I'm counting each one of the books that I read. Oh, I did finish my 10 Kindle books, so I need to up that goal next year. Those are books that I own on my Kindle, not library books I check out. I did complete my March TBR, so in March, looks like. Okay, so Talent for Murder was, it was a picker wheel for my 26 read and 2026 list. The Mysterious Howling was another picker wheel for my TBR cart. Taran Wanderer was from the series picker wheel. And then Miracle at Tenwick I drew for standalone. The Night of Shadows was... Oh, I stuck that in the wrong one. The Night of Shadows was the random letter equals the first. Did I write that down wrong? I may have written that down wrong. Huh. And then the 7 Dials Mystery for Unknown Book. Yeah. Let me know what you read in March. Here's this peek at what I read. And are you reading anything good in April? And until next week, happy reading.